On a crisp spring morning in Richmond, Virginia, April 2nd, 1863, a peculiar thunder rolled down Ninth Street. It was not the sound of cannon fire or marching soldiers, but the determined footsteps of women. Not trained soldiers, but ragged housewives and market vendors, armed with kitchen knives and pot lids, marching past the green dome of the state capitol. Their voices rose in a chilling chorus. "We celebrate our right to live. We are starving, bread or blood." In that moment, the genteel ideals of Southern womanhood gave way to a raw and urgent demand for survival. By 1863, Richmond, the capital of the Confederacy, had become a city besieged not only by Union armies, but by hunger and hardship at home. The city's population had more than tripled, overwhelming food supplies and driving inflation to staggering heights. Basic staples like flour, bacon, and coffee disappeared from market shelves, and prices soared beyond the reach of ordinary citizens. Where once a barrel of flour cost a few dollars, now it could command hundreds of Confederate dollars, a currency itself rapidly losing value. To make matters worse, the Confederate government's Impressment Act allowed officials to seize private food stores for the Army, often at unfairly low prices. While soldiers marched forward with full rations, their families at home were left starving. A late snowstorm only worsened the crisis, making supply lines nearly impossible to navigate and deepening the city's desperation. Into this turmoil stepped two women destined to become icons of defiance. Mary Jackson, a 34-year-old market vendor and mother of four, had earned a reputation for her relentless complaints about rising food costs. Alongside her stood Minerva Meredith, tall, formidable, and equally unafraid. On the evening of April 1st, the two organized a meeting at Belvedere Hill Baptist Church. With word spreading quickly, dozens of women pledged to confront Governor John Letcher the next morning and demand change or take action themselves. At dawn on April 2nd, Jackson stood beneath the George Washington statue in Capitol Square, surrounded by a swelling crowd of hungry, determined women. They demanded to see Governor Letcher. Some accounts say he politely dismissed them, others that he simply ignored their pleas. But no bread came, no solutions, no justice. What began as protest quickly escalated. Armed with rolling pins, pistols, and fierce resolve, the women surged toward the city's commercial district. Stores were ransacked, wagons overturned, windows smashed. Hundreds joined in, some from solidarity, others drawn by the promise of free food. Yet the women's chants were clear and deliberate. Bread or blood. This was no chaotic frenzy. It was a calculated demand for survival. The spectacle shocked Richmond's elite. In a society that prized quiet, obedient women confined to the home, the image of corseted women storming shops was scandalous. Newspapers branded them as unruly and vulgar. Yet these women were not revolutionaries. They were mothers and wives pushed to the edge, demanding recognition and rights in a world that had left them powerless. City officials scrambled to contain the unrest. Within hours, Confederate President Jefferson Davis arrived, standing atop a wagon, demanding the crowd disperse or face armed intervention. His warning worked. The crowd reluctantly disbanded, many carrying stolen sacks of flour beneath their aprons, others dragging children behind them. Though no lives were lost, the riot left a powerful political mark. In the days that followed, dozens of women were arrested and tried. The justice system revealed another fault line. Older, poorer women bore the harshest penalties, while younger, wealthier ones often escaped punishment. The Richmond bread riot was a turning point. Confederate leaders realized the war's collapse was as severe on the home front as on the battlefield. The ideals of Southern womanhood, obedient, silent, supportive, were shattered. These women were not asking for charity, they demanded rights. The riot did not end hunger. It did not stop inflation or change Confederate policy overnight. But it proved that even in the tightest constraints, corsets and bonnets aside, ordinary citizens, especially women, could become agents of political change. Their courage echoes today as food insecurity, economic inequality, and calls for justice continue to shape our world. So next time you see headlines about rising food prices or witness demands for government accountability, remember the women of Richmond in 1863. With empty stomachs and borrowed pistols, They declared a simple truth. If the state would not feed them, they would take bread for themselves. And if they could rise in defiance then, so can we today. If you found this history compelling, please like, subscribe, and share. History reminds us that the fight for justice is ongoing, and it begins with raising our voices.